President Biden is in New Jersey right now to survey the damage from Ida. The recent storm has put climate change front and center. Former Republican Congressman Bob Inglis of South Carolina has parted company with some of the members of his party and is pursuing conservative alternatives to dealing with climate change after founding the Energy and Enterprise Initiative based at George Mason University. So, Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. It just shows you can't be too simplistic about this. You're a Republican. You think we need to deal with climate change, but perhaps in a somewhat different way than the Democrats. Give us a synopsis of exactly what a conservative approach to climate change is.
Well, yeah, David, I think there are three ways really to deal with climate change. You can try to regulate emissions, you can incentivize clean energy, or you can price in the negative effects of burning fossil fuels. We think that third one is the way to go. The challenge with the first, regulating it, is you can't regulate Chinese emissions. And so that's a real limitation. And worse, if you regulate here and they don't regulate there, and manufacturers pick up and move there, then you go downhill in solving the problem of climate change because they're going to emit more there when they move there than they're emitting here. So that regulatory approach doesn't work too well. The incentivizing approach is better. And if I were still in Congress, I'd be voting for some of those incentives. But we got to admit that maybe they got the same limitation there as a regulatory approach, which is you can't get poorer countries to follow our lead into expensive technology. You got to figure out a way to adjust the economics. And that's where the third one comes in, pricing in the negative effects of burning fossil fuels. You can make it so you can get this worldwide, because then you could collect that tax that we're doing here in America on imported goods. And if you do that, it becomes in the interest of our trading partners to put on the same tax. And then you end up with the whole world seeing the true cost. And then the free enterprise system delivers innovation faster than government regulations or mandates or fickle tax incentives could ever imagine.
So, Congressman, take me through three things that in my own mind are related, but you tell me if they are. One of them is carbon pricing, one of them is a carbon tax, and the other is what I think you're describing, which is essentially a tariff at the border, really equalizing the carbon costs. Are those three things, do they come together? Do you need all three of them?
Yeah, all those things come together. So in other words, what we're just trying to do with right now, the problem is with being able to emit for free into the trash dump of the sky is that lack of accountability results in havoc because I get away with it. I'm Inglis Industries. I get to dump on my neighbors, fouls their lungs, ruins their planet. But hey, it's great for me because I don't have to buy new equipment that cleans up my emissions or sequesters the CO2. Great deal for me, pretty good for my customers, right? Because they're getting a cheaper widget from Inglis Industries. But if you make me accountable and I buy that new equipment, the competitor across town that doesn't emit like I do suddenly starts beating me in the marketplace. And then consumers are driving this innovation. That comes from pricing. And then the other part of that, David, was, yeah, if we're going to do that here, if we're going to bring that kind of accountability in America, then you got to impose that accountability on China. How do we do that? We can't go there and tell them what to do, but we can say this: hey, that stuff that you're importing through our ports, it just got taxed. They object in the World Trade Organization. They'll say that's an impermissible tariff. We think they lose that case based on precedents in the chemical industry that say you can have a content tax, and this would be a carbon content tax. If we're right about that, and it's upheld by the WTO, China pretty quickly would follow suit because they're paying a tax on entry to an American port that's benefited the American government that they could have collected in China to benefit their government. So pretty soon thereafter, they got their own carbon tax, and then the whole world is following. So that border adjustment is what we're talking about. That makes it worldwide and changes the economics so that then what we as consumers start to see is, you know what? Cleaner is actually cheaper when you internalize all those negative effects of the burning of fossil fuels. You put them on the price of a product, and consumers, all of us, start choosing the cleaner because it's cheaper. And that's not because the government told us how to do it or some regulator rolled past my house and told me, good boy, bad boy for doing that, whatever. No, no. It's just that I see the price and I say, hey, cleaner works for me.
So, Congressman, take me through the politics of it, because to get these things done, as you know better than anyone, you got to have the votes as a practical matter. I know that President Biden has indicated he's in favor of a border adjustment tax. He's in favor of many of the things you're talking about. Are the Democrats behind this, and can you get enough Republicans to actually get something done?
David, you're on to one of the challenges. Certainly the challenge is politically, right? In other words, there's some erosion of support on the left because they're concerned about the impact of a carbon tax on poor people. I'm a conservative who actually cares about poor people. I think there are others like me. And we think that there's a way to fix that regressivity, which is the harder hit on poor people as a result of the carbon tax. That's caused some erosion on the left. But I think we can fix that by reducing, for example, the payroll tax. If you put on a carbon tax and reduce the FICA tax, you actually make poor people, working poor people, better off. And so on the right, the political challenge is having conservatives hear it in their own language. And I hope that's what they're hearing from me right now. I'm not telling them that we're all going to die next Tuesday and that the apocalypse is upon us. I'm saying that, hey, there is a calling here for those of us who believe in free enterprise and the power of free enterprise to step forward and get this right before big government gets it wrong. We conservatives have the answer. We know what it is. Milton Friedman would have told us what to do if he was still alive. He would say, yeah, just tax pollution. And so the good news is, by the way, is that there are a lot of progressives that agree with that, so that we can, I believe, bring America together and lead the world to solutions. But it starts for us with reaching fellow conservatives with this clear language and hopefulness of the power of free enterprise innovation.
Right. Well, if you have Milton Friedman on your side, you got a shot. In my experience with the conservatives, exactly right. Thank you so much. Really a delight to have you with us. That's former Congressman Bob Inglis.